Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, this is probably going to be a true 420 episode. It's been a long day. It's been a really long day. It's been a shitty day. Yesterday, I fell down the stairs. Literally fell down the stairs. I was holding a Pepsi. I wasted Pepsi, dogs jumped on top, drunk the Pepsi. Today, those dogs got out. And we walked around the block looking for the two dogs. My wife is in Vegas. So I didn't want to necessarily have to have the conversation. I lost Pitu. I didn't want to have the conversation. We found them. Got him back. I ended up in a car accident just a few minutes ago. Maybe an hour ago. So, banged up. Slight pain. And I sit down and look at my Facebook. And this guy, it's like a post or something. He says, "Hey, I was inspired by something that you said in your video. And I've started a group." He says, "I think you're right. We should organize workers." And he says, "To the degree that I can help, I will help." And I sit here thinking to myself, I was like, I got caught by a single thought. And I wanted to make a video about it. I made the video about it and lost the first video. Today, man. Today. So this is a true 420 episode. I don't know where it's going to go. It's going to go where it goes. I was caught by a thought. Can one man change the world? Can one man save the world? Now, I'm saying save, but if I want to say save, you're stuck with a dilemma. What does it mean to save the world? How do you know that your save is the right save? If that makes sense. Like, how do you know it's right? Let's say you can change the world. And I'm not saying through force. I'm just saying, well, yes, one man probably could change through force also. But I'm not talking about force. I'm just saying one man with a concept and an energetic delivery of that concept. Can you put that concept out that resonates with so many people that those people just say, yes, this is right. This is right. And resonating with those people that feel that what that guy or what that person is saying is right, change them. Literally, change them. Form up in some kind of alignment to actually change things. So what's the question of right? How do you deal with the right question? I would say that yes, most things aren't necessarily right or wrong. Right would have to be based on something. So what is the thing you're going to base it on? Now, when I say organize workers, I make this point of saying organize because you create a box. You create a political box. You essentially say, look, the conversation that need to be had is a conversation on class. Now, in the same way that you had the civil rights movement, there was a certain level of moral force associated with the civil rights movement. Because you have to think to yourself, why does time move in this way? Time seems to have a bias towards correctness. Martin Luther King said the arc of history is long, but it bends towards fairness. I agree. But why does it bend towards fairness? Now, Martin Luther King, in that period of time, he came out. And he came out with a moral force. Now, when I say moral force, I know you're going to say, well, how do you know, what does that mean? I mean, moral force of what? What is a moral force? If you're looking at things in abstract terms, nothing is anything. Nothing is anything. Something just happens. The consciousness, for the most part, that's looking at gives it a particular appraisal. That appraisal is what we ourselves, in this particular physical matter reality, call whatever. We could say that's bad, that's horrific, that's horrendous. But ultimately, those things are just things. If no consciousness was there to bear upon it, it would be nothing at all. So in some abstract way, you can say, well, the whole idea of right or wrong kind of goes out of the window. The whole idea of moral is purely just a consciousness conception. That may be true, but consciousness is all we have. We don't live in those abstract terms. We live in this physical matter reality. We live as human beings. And as human beings, there's something to be said when somebody can say something and there's a moral force of delivery where a majority of people look at it and say, yes, the guy's right. That's wrong. what I'm making this point is, King making this case over and over again from a moral position of the conditions of African Americans in this particular country. You guys are treating us wrong. You're treating us wrong. That resonated. He was right. Yes, he took a lot of flack for that. People were against him. Sometimes, even his own, because he was coming out with a moral force against the Vietnam War at a time where people were like, dude, I don't understand what that black stuff has to do with that war stuff. King was making a point. Those things are related. That is, if you want to say moral force was something where a huge majority of people with bare consciousness upon it will say, yes, that's horrific. You kill a million people through some kind of genocide. Yes, that's horrific. A moral force is asserted on a thing saying, yes, that's wrong. So, yes, within the consciousness of human beings, there is something to be said for that. Because look, each of us, even the worst of us, have a certain empathy somewhere. It's there. It's almost built into us as human beings. Those things are covered up, of course, because you're dealing in a capitalistic system. You're always in a situation of scarcity. I got to get my own. So anything else that you're going to give somebody else has to be leveraged against, well, look, I have to have my own. You're always at this cutthroat pace. But those are just parts of the system that forces that particular behavior. That behavior is always running up against your own human values. That's the war that takes place in the capitalistic model. This game that we're playing, this Ponzi scheme that we're stuck in. If you could get rid of that particular factor, then human nature would be human nature. I'm making this case that human nature is like water in a glass or water in, some kind of maze. It's just functioning based upon the maze itself. This particular maze forces that particular behavior. That behavior is not necessarily inherent to who we are. That's a different thing. So yeah, there is a such thing as right. At least for us, at least for human beings. Those are the things that we agree upon from a gut level, not on this level of trying to get anything, a gut level of saying, yes, this is right. And if you think about it, history has moved in that particular way. Romans had slaves. We look at that as being horrific. You go further back, we look at their behavior as being barbaric. Why do times change? Why do you get these particular errors? It always seems like it's airing itself out. Like history is moving with a particular thread, and that thread is going in a particular direction. And yes, that direction can be horrific, but ultimately that direction seems to be pretty steady in one particular pace. Fairness. So yes, I'm making the case that there is a such thing as fairness, or there is a such thing as right. Now you can say that concept is only based on human, but that's all the concepts we have. There is nothing else to have to base those things. Those things, those concepts are a particular reality. We don't live in this abstract space. We live in this space where human beings bear their eyes or consciousness upon things and make certain decisions. Those decisions in masses, particularly the one that resonates on a gut level, that's what you can go with that idea of right. That's the point I'm making. Yes, there is a such thing as right. And if one person can resonate in a way that people think that for the most part that's right, then yeah, that one person can change the world. But that person is only changing it through a concept. That's it. That's all he has. It's the masses that makes the point. You need this position of... The reason I say unify masses or unify workers, you need a situation where you can say, this is our box. This is the line we draw in the sand. You're not getting our vote if you do anything beyond right here. This is where we start. Anything else beyond this, that's fine with this box. This is a level of living to which we would exist. We're making changes. They like to take this idea of class off the table, but in the same way there was a civil rights movement, there needs to be a class rights movement. Literally. So if one man can be a figurehead for that, yes, that person can change the world. That person can change the world because it's going to affect everybody. The civil rights movement affected a segment of the culture. Workers' rights movement. Or a workers' rights movement in that sense. That affects the entire nation. Literally. That changes the dynamic. That's the conversation you need to have. You talking about class warfare? Fuck yes, class warfare. That's the dilemma. That's the entire structure itself. That's the conversation about capitalism. That's the conversation that's currently off the table. But if you organize workers, so you have it a situation where you say, we don't go beyond this point. If you're going to run for something, if you want our vote across the country, millions of people in particular political alignment saying, you're not getting our vote if you do anything beyond this point. Period. You would find yourself in a situation where people will spring up to get that vote. And they would get rid of those other guys who was in that party. The workers, yes, I would prefer they do more in that sense, whether it's some kind of movements or whether it's some kind of summits, actions, and stuff like that. But even that level of political alignment throughout the country changes. The country changes the conversation that goes on in Washington. It pulls both parties to the left. They don't have a choice but to go to the left because they can't get in office without it. Yeah, one person can change it. One person can change it. He needs energy. He needs an ability to communicate. But yeah, he can do it. He can do it. It's just a concept. Whatever weight you want to put on having that concept, I would make the case that that concept is massive. That concept is massive. If you hit something that resonates with person after person after person after person, and those people say, yes, this makes sense. And they realize, well, yeah, the economic system, we need to have this conversation about this. We're getting screwed. We don't have to live in this particular way. It's like, and there's another added bonus to this box. You get to a point where these people are pulled to the left, meaning they can't get in office if they don't necessarily do these particular things, or they don't necessarily stay at this particular level. But you're going to have people going further in that particular level. You're changing the values of a particular country. Literally changing the values of the country. You're also getting rid of poverty in that country because you're pulling in legislation that would allow those people to get more. Whether that's saying the resources of the particular country belong to the people of the country. Those people should get dividend checks for those things. You're trying to eliminate poverty. You're trying to eliminate crime. You're trying to eliminate a lot of these things, these social ills. Not just eliminate those social ills. You're trying to allow those people to be in a position to be politically active. Your goal is to get more people in the political process thinking just like you. That's a movement. That's a movement. If one person can spearhead that in the same way that King and Malcolm X spearheaded the Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Movement. Yeah. If King can do it, why not? Why not? One person can do it. I think so. It will be a call to arms type thing. And it will be one of those cases where the people just... You would have to have the society be primed for that particular thing, though. It's almost like society would need to be a tinderbox. But yes, one person can do it. And I would even go so far as to say one person is right to do it. Because you do have to ask the question, well, yeah, should one person make that decision? One person is not making that decision. One person is putting something out that resonated with millions and millions of people. And those people decided, yes, this makes sense to us. We need to be in this way. Life is not have to be this way. We make this choice to live in this particular Ponzi scheme. We don't have to live this way. We don't have to live this way at all. But you need people to also understand that you don't have to live this way. The hardest thing in the world, I swear to God, getting through people's heads, a difference. They can't see it. They're stuck in this thing. It's almost like you're saying, look, you realize you're working for no reason. We have the capacity to create machines and everything else that can do all of that work. Your life doesn't have to be this way. You can retire at 30 instead of 60. You're a person. You're a being. You have more capacity to do things. Just being a goddamn tool for a cog in a wheel. You should have a life. You should be able to explore that life. You should have full actualization as a citizen. That shouldn't be necessarily constrained by cash, the thing that's in your pocket. That shouldn't be the point. Life is more important than that. It is a difficult thing getting that through people's heads. Because ultimately, when people finally believe, they say, well, yeah, he's right. People should be more than just cogs in a wheel. That's when you change things. The perspective of people is the thing that makes that sense. It's like, what are people willing to leave as their base level of living? Well, these people accept the base level of living to which they have now. Well, if they didn't accept that, and they say, wait a minute, this is not what we want, that would change, but you have to get that into their heads. You have to get that into their heads. This current economics works against that. It gives this thing of meritocracy. Meritocracy is somewhat this illusion. It works on your thought saying, well, hey, this guy did something, so he gets $50 billion. He did something that's worth $50 billion. Understand what that means. There's nothing that anybody's going to do that's worth that. But they use the same argument of saying, well, yeah, that fry cook, he's not worth that much. He's only doing fries. So it's okay that he doesn't get enough money to pay his rent. That's amazing. That fry cook is doing something. Mind, that task is unnecessary. Yes, you can have a robot to do that. But I'm making this case that's saying he should still be able to eat, regardless of what he's doing. I don't understand why he in a particular job, he's working 40 hours. Shouldn't he have the capacity to get something to eat? I mean, shouldn't he get enough? Yes, he should get enough. Meritocracy says no. It's built into the capitalistic system, so the individual themselves take this on themselves as a burden of sorts of saying, I'm just a fry cook. I'm just the working at McDonald's. I'm just the working at 7-Eleven. It bears down on the individual. It contorts them in a way. I'm saying that contortion is kind of built into it. It's almost like this conceptual thing that's built into it, where people take that ingrained into themselves. It works on a person. But it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way at all. Society can be a different place. Guaranteed income, guaranteed jobs, all these things, these different things that can come up that would help people, that would make life much easier than what, make it into more what it should be, which is a life. Which is a life. So yes, one person can change things. One person should change things. If one person has the capacity to put out a thought that resonates in that way, then yes, he was right. Society accepted it as being right. We have human consciousness. This is all we have. Whatever an abstract concept is, yes, that's great. From our standpoint, from our perspective, from a human perspective, if what he did was that resonance was there, then yeah, he should do it. He's right. One person can change it. I agree. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to share, subscribe, like. You can always support the work through Patreon.